In this video, we'll discuss Nick Kyrgios' sad press conference after his loss at the Wimbledon finals. Tennis is a competitive game that can take a toll on the players, but after all, it's Wimbledon, the most prestigious event in the sport, and every tennis star dreams of winning one. That's what Nick was aiming for, but he fell short. However, it was his post-match press conference that broke fans' hearts even more. First up, Nick Kyrgios goes raw in a post-match conference. The Aussie surprised everyone when he found himself going against probably one of the best tennis players of all time. Infamously known as the bad boy of tennis, Nick Kyrgios proved that his attitude might not be up to par, but his talent is next to none. He made it to the Wimbledon finals, and even if he didn't get the result he expected, it's a huge year for the Aussie star. Kyrgios gave his best performance, but it was Novak in the end who overcame Nick in 4 sets and took home his 21st major title. He's now only one title shy of equaling the all-time men's record. As for Nick Kyrgios, his defeat was only the beginning of a very challenging day for him. It completely surprised everyone when the Australian tennis star was incredibly vulnerable and honest about what he was going through. He reflected on his successful run at the Grand Slam, but also talked about the sad reality of the pressure of being the best. In the post-match conference, the 27-year-old sadly revealed that there's a lot of weight on his shoulders. He expressed gratitude for being in a battle against Novak in the finals. Nick said that he felt he wasn't supposed to be a Wimbledon finalist given all he's been through, and it felt completely ridiculous playing the best battle of his life. Saying things like that, it almost feels Nick was reflecting on the troubles he had been through both before and after becoming a tennis star. Nick especially pointed out how harsh criticism is directed at his attitude, which may sometimes come off as too strong. He expressed a certain sadness when he stated that he never felt good, but his anxiety and expectations have subsided after playing the biggest match of his life. He feels that he's in a different space right now, but what really saddened everyone was that Nick repeatedly implied that this is the best he's felt in weeks, and it goes on to show how much troubled or under pressure he must be because of the game. Kyrgios also talked about negative comments, and we can understand where he's coming from after he had an upsetting encounter with a crowd member during his playoff against Djokovic. The frequent reaction from his friends and family and even a fan frustrated him, and that could really have a negative impact on an already stressful event. Up next, the Wimbledon star talks about the immense pressure of the game. Nick Kyrgios had both an amazing and a sad run at the latest Wimbledon. He had his most successful run at a major event, but he lost out on the opportunity to take the title home. He expressed his opinion during the press conference and stated that it was a hard task to go against Djokovic and keep him busy for 3 hours. The Aussie star reflected the pressure he felt before the game and said there's so much weight on his shoulders whenever he steps onto the court, but now he feels amazing after his big match, and he never felt this good, even after a loss. Nick is mostly dominating the headlines for his immense talent, but is also under a lot of heat because of his behavior on the court. When asked about the pressure he feels, he elaborated, saying that it's not just on the court, but also on social media, the crowd, and the media scrutiny that he has to face as well. It affects him, and it hasn't been easy for him for the past few days. He pointed out the reality that most of us face today, the silent stress from social media. Since everything is easily accessible and anyone has the liberty to say what they want, it can be extremely difficult for athletes to keep out that negativity and focus on the game. Kyrgios admitted that he makes an effort to focus on the task at hand, but it's hard for him to deal with the opinions thrown his way. He even praised the 3 giants of tennis, Djokovic, Federer, and Nadal, for handling all this for so long, and it's insane how they keep calm and perform the way they do. Nick has been labeled as the bad boy of tennis after he was fined for a series of outbursts which led to his controversial ascent to the Wimbledon finals. Opponent Stefanos Tsitsipas even went as far as calling Nick evil and a bully. No wonder he loses his calm now and then. So, what has gotten Nick Kyrgios so sad after his Wimbledon loss? Nick Kyrgios is a genius. Well, according to 3-time Wimbledon champion John McEnroe, dubbed as the original tennis bad boy, McEnroe said that the Aussie star needs to sort out the demons in his game. John told BBC that he thinks the 27-year-old is a genius when he plays, and wittingly remarked that Sigmund Freud should come out of his grave and give the youngster some good advice and keep him going well for a couple of years. The veteran tennis star mitigated what Nick said about the pressure getting the best of us. He called Nick a good kid and said that he's someone who does a lot of charity work and is liked in the locker room. However, he has demons that he needs to deal with. It's most probably the fear of failure that all athletes have when they're at the top. McEnroe commented that it all boils down to how best we deal with that fear. Kyrgios has undoubtedly been at his best in the Grand Slam, and when asked about motivation levels after a big loss, he replied that he would have lost motivation if he won the game. The 27-year-old tennis star stated that every tennis player is told that Wimbledon is the ultimate achievement, and if he had won it, he would have lost motivation for other tournaments. It took him 10 years to get this chance at a Grand Slam, and he is extra motivated now. He also thanked the people who pushed him to be a better person and a tennis player. The tennis star is grateful for being recognized for his talent. He still has much more to do in sports. Now, in related news, let's start with Djokovic, who won his 7th Wimbledon title. Novak Djokovic is showing no signs of stopping, and the fans wouldn't want him to either. He's only the 4th man in the Open era to set a streak of 4 consecutive Wimbledon wins. Djokovic was classy, level-headed, and fished in his 7th title at All England Club. He secured his 21st Grand Slam title and respectfully crushed Nick Kyrgios on center court. While controversy may have surrounded Nick, the two players had some applaudable bromance moments even before the match. The tennis stars exchanged Instagram messages where Djokovic praised the 27-year-old and wrote that he showed why he deserves to be one of the best tennis players in the world. He even wished to see Nick in other later stages of Grand Slams, and the top seed had nothing but praises for his opponent. The Serbian tennis star is now only a single title away from snatching the crown from the GOAT Rafael Nadal. Next up, Nick Kyrgios talks about his encounter with a drunk fan. It has to be a Nick Kyrgios game when a drunk fan interferes. The guy's tennis stardom is overly filled with outbursts, which may not all be unnecessary because a guy can sometimes lose it. As for Nick Kyrgios, he may have lost the Wimbledon finals, but he admitted that it wasn't because of the fans' interruption. Speaking about his performance, the Aussie star said he felt like he belonged in the final and hadn't felt good about his game until the recent match. Nick faced off against Novak Djokovic, which is a mammoth task of its own, but add frustrated family and friends shouting from the stands and an interfering crowd, it can become impossible. Even though Nick had a composed first set, he lost his calm and regularly shouted up at his family. Kyrgios was littered with fines in the tournament, but he still gave Djokovic a tough run, which only goes on to tell how talented he is. And finally, Stefanos Tsitsipas takes a dig at Kyrgios. After suffering a defeat at the hands of Nick Kyrgios, Stefanos Tsitsipas just had to take a dig at the Aussie player. There were plenty of heated moments and on-court drama, which overshadowed a fine game. The Greek player was so frustrated that he even called Nick a bully in his post-match conference, which only made matters worse. Kyrgios didn't hold back as well when he called out his opponent to default after Stefanos aimed a backhand into the crowd just after losing the second set. Even though Kyrgios showed the utmost respect for his opponent after the match, Stefanos wasn't quick to share Nick's sentiments and stated that Nick was probably a bully at school and he didn't like bullies. That's a wrap for this video. Which tennis player were you rooting for? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.